2.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Harkleroad-Adams channel here on YouTube. I am your host, Drew Hare, with our analyst, Chris Adams at Harkleroad. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
I'm Chris.
Hey, perfect. I like the synergy. I like it, guys. And we're here to talk about our 2020 NFL predictions. We're going to go from everything from division winners to the wild card, to the conference champions, Super Bowl picks, and then we're going to go with some other NFL superlatives. But let's just go ahead and jump right on in to who's winning those divisions. Our analysts have gone through and picked all of their playoff teams. And for the AFC, they are pretty much in agreement across every one of these divisions, at least for division winners. So we're going to start with the AFC East. You guys both have Buffalo winning the AFC East, which would be a huge change, but there's no Tom Brady out there in the AFC East anymore. So maybe it's not nearly as surprising as expected. Anything else to talk about for the AFC East from either of you guys?
No, I think that's it. I mean, who knows what New England's going to do, and maybe I'll leave a little secret for later.
Ooh, secrets. I like it. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo was a playoff team last year. They added Stephon Diggs, who I think is a very good receiver to pair with Josh Allen. And they have a strong defense. They have some weapons there. I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender by any means, but they're in what now is a very weak division. So I think they keep it rolling in Buffalo, and they take home the division title.
Sounds good. Let's keep on rolling then. We'll go to the AFC North. You guys both have Baltimore Ravens winning the division. Went 14-2, had a historic season from MVP Lamar Jackson. Anything else we need to talk about the AFC North?
Nope, I think you covered it.
Yeah. I'm going to say I don't think Baltimore is going 14-2 again. As a matter of fact, I think the AFC North is going to be one of the better leagues this year. Or better divisions. So I think the teams are going to be a little bit more bunched. But it's stupid not to pick the Ravens at this point. So they may be like 12-4 or 11-5, but I'm still going to choose them as the division winner.
Fair enough. Do you guys, Matt, do you think that the AFC North is actually the best division in football?
No.
Or is it like an NFC West maybe?
Probably not. Yeah, I think the NFC West is probably the best team in football.
I would agree.
The AFC North is in that bunch. You could maybe make a case if the AFC South could get anyone besides the Jacksonville Jaguars in there, that would be a case for a really competitive division. But yeah, I mean, they're up there. I mean, it's no AFC East or NFC East where you're scratching your head for who might come out on top. But I think. But the Pittsburgh Steelers are good. I think the Browns will be better, and I think Cincinnati's going to be better. And the Ravens, we're the best team in football during the regular season. And I think that they might get closer to 14 games than Chris does. I mean, no team goes 2 seasons in a row winning 14 games, but 13 wouldn't shock.
All right, sounds good. Sorry for the diversion. Just wanted to ask because I had that pop in my head. All right, let's move on to the AFC South. You guys both have the Tennessee Titans winning that division. Anything else to talk about for the South?
For me, it was a coin flip between Houston and the Titans. I think losing Hopkins is going to hurt the Texans quite a bit, and I think Tennessee's going to gel a little better. And that defense and offensive line are both really good. So, I mean, there's nothing to dislike about Tennessee. Houston may be the more glamorous pick, but, again, I think they have some questions.
I would agree with that. I'm pretty high on the Titans. They ended last year. Obviously, they were one of the best stories of the league, the way they steamrolled people with Derrick Henry down the stretch and got to the AFC Championship. Ryan Tannehill was maybe one of the best stories in the second half of the league last year. They bring that team back. They just added Jadeveon Clowney, and I think Mike Vrabel is the perfect coach to get the best out of him. I think they've got all of the tools to win the division and also have another deep playoff run.
Sounds good. All right, let's move on to the AFC West, where you guys both have the Kansas City Chiefs winning that division, and we're not going to talk about that, so let's keep on moving to the 3 wildcard spots. So remember, this year we now get 3 wildcard spots per conference, and that means that there will only be one team getting that bye week, so it'll be 2 versus 7, 3 versus 6, 4 versus 5. Chris, let's go to you first. What are your 3 wildcard teams?
Yeah, so this is tough. I think right? You have in the AFC, you got a clear clear top two in Kansas City and Baltimore, and then it gets kind of up in the air after that. I said I like Tennessee as my solid number three, but you could pick a number of different teams for the wild card here, and I actually have gone through them. So one I'm going to say is the Pittsburgh Steelers. You look at they went 8-8 last year with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges at quarterback. This year they've got Big Ben coming back. We don't know what he's going to be like, but he can't be worse. And they got James Conner coming back too. So I think, and winning organization. Second here, I'm going to go with Houston. So I have kind of a flip on what Matt said there. I do think the loss of Hopkins, really for nothing, is going to hurt them. And I wouldn't, if they ended up the first team out, that wouldn't surprise me either. But Deshaun Watson, I think, is really, really good. And J.J. Watt is really, really good. And they have enough other pieces there that I think they should be able to take home a wild card. And for my last team, call me a homer pick on this, but I'm going to go with the Cleveland Browns. Last year there was all kinds of great expectations. It didn't go well. We don't want to revisit that. But they've reloaded. They've improved at the offensive line and the tight end position. They're going to have Myles Garrett back. Hopefully, Kevin Stefanski is a rookie coach, but so far I like what I've seen. I think the biggest thing working against the Browns, and I would have been, I have them as my last team in. I think they're going to go 8-8, but I think this year 8-8 gets the last playoff spot in. And I think they're the only. I would have them a little bit higher. Just the pandemic situation and the atypical off season, I think really hurts a new team like that. So I do think I think they play better in the second half of the season. They finish 8-8, and they edge out the Patriots on a tiebreaker for the last spot. So go Browns.
And the world rejoices at that point, I think. Or do they? I don't know. Maybe they do. Matt, how about your three wildcard teams, and then maybe the fourth team, the first one out?
Yeah. So, I think for me, the first one, obviously, I mentioned it earlier, it was a coin flip between Tennessee and Houston for me for the pick in the AFC South. So they're going to be my first team in. Next, I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, they, right there, almost in the playoffs last year, and with no quarterback play and quarterbacks that aren't even in the league anymore. One of them not even in the league anymore, right? So down the stretch, I think they have a lot of great pieces and parts. I think that offense could be pretty good. They were good before Ben went down. They have most of the same pieces. After the Le'Veon holdout year, they were still pretty good that year. I think, that they have a pretty weak schedule as well. And so I think, with Chris talking about Cleveland getting in, I don't think that's a crazy idea. I don't have them, but they may be borderline my number 4 team. But my third wild card team is going to be a little bit of a surprise, and I hinted at it earlier, but I'm going to take the Jets. And the reason I'm going to take the Jets, even though they have a ridiculously hard schedule, the reason I'm taking them is they were really good second half of the season. They beat the Pittsburgh Steelers at one of the last 2 games of the season. Once the quarterback Darnold came back from mono. Yeah, once Sam Darnold came back from mono, that team was a different team. They lost a lot of games up front. They closed out the season really well. I think they might have went 6-2 or 5-3 down the stretch of the season, and ended up at 7-9 when they were maybe the worst team in football for the beginning half of the season. So I just think that they're starting to build momentum, and I think they have a really good coach. And so my official number 4 pick, though, would be it's tough in the AFC South. I think it would be coming out of the AFC South, getting 3 in, would be either the AFC South, Indianapolis Colts, the other one. So, sorry, Indianapolis Colts. I also thought about taking Denver at this place, but I think Denver, again, 7-9 team from last year, should only be better coming back. They've got some more weapons, but I really like Indianapolis. I think, with Rivers there and a consistent guy who knows how to play and take a team a little further, I think that team gets a little better. So they would be my first team out, Indianapolis Colts.
All right, sounds good. Let's move on to the NFC. So we'll start with the NFC East. So we do have some splits here on the NFC side. Matt, who's the team that you're going to take from the NFC East?
The East, I'm taking the Eagles. Again, I mean, it's a toss-up. Cowboys have a lot of weaponry, and but they always seem to have something go horribly wrong for them. I think Philadelphia is a good team. I think they're better than their record was last year. I think that they win those tight games against their divisional opponents. They do that consistently. I think they'll be better this year than they were last year.
And Chris, you're going to be on the other flip side of the coin. I assume you're going to take the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm going to take Dallas, and this really is a coin flip. I honestly figured I needed to be different from Matt somewhere in these picks. But you can make an argument for Dallas with the skill players they have, adding CD Lamb to their already deep stable of weapons. Dak Prescott's playing to get paid. And I think they have upgraded at coach with Mike McCarthy. I like Philadelphia too. I like Carson Wentz as long as he can stay healthy. I don't like their offensive weapons quite as much. So I'm going to go Dallas, edges them out by like a game.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the NFC North. You guys both have the Minnesota Vikings taking that division. Anything else that either of you want to add? Matt, any comments? Or Chris, you guys good?
No, I think them and the Green Bay Packers are going to be fighting each other out like they have been the last couple of years. I don't know. I just have a feeling that the Green Bay Packers are going to take a step back. I think a lot of what their success was last year was the new defensive schemes that Matt LaFleur put in front of those teams. But I think some of that goes away. Aaron Rodgers is getting older, but it could go either way. I'll take both of those teams in the playoffs if I'm going to tip my hat on my wild card picks. But 6 in one hand, half a dozen the other.
Yeah, I like the Vikings a lot. They had a really nice year a season ago. I think the Ndakwe addition that they just made really helped shore up their defense. And the defense kind of underachieved a bit last year, but I think he greatly helps them out. I think they cruise to the division championship.
All right, sounds good. For the NFC South, you both have the New Orleans Saints winning. Did either of you think that maybe Tom Brady and Gronk were going to just waltz right in and maybe take that crown away from the Saints? Or are you guys still pretty confident that New Orleans is the clear top-tier team in that division?
I am. You look at New Orleans, if you just look at our rankings, right, they've got the number 5th rated quarterback, the number 1 rated wide receiver, and the number 7th rated running back. Again, those are the Harkleroad-Adams rankings, but again, point being, they have as good a triplets as anyone in the league right now. They've also got some other really good support players. Jared Cook's a solid tight end. Emmanuel Sanders brought in to be the second wide receiver. And they've got a strong defense as well. So they have one of the most balanced rosters in the league.
I just think there's too many questions about Tampa Bay right now. I mean, sure, they could win that division. They could win the Super Bowl. They could also win 4 games. Like there's no telling what you're going to get out of them. And when you're making picks like this, I can make a hot take and say they're going to, win the Super Bowl or whatever. But I don't know. My guess is that they're somewhere in the 8-8 range, just because they got to put a whole team together that has never played on the field together before. If you look at their roster, there's a lot of turnover, new running backs, there's a lot of new pieces going in an offense, that was good last year, but it's got some great weapons between, 2 great wide receivers, and now another threat at tight end. But again, what is Gronk now? Is he a guy that's, is he going to come back like Witten did, and really put in some good a season or two, or is it not going to work out that well for him? So who knows? There's just too many questions.
Absolutely, fair enough. to the NFC West. You guys both are on the opposite sides of the coin flips here, I would assume. Matt, who was your pick for the NFC West?
Yeah, I'm taking San Francisco. I mean, they were great last year. I don't think they're going to have a Super Bowl loss hangover. They played great in that game for the most part, too. They just got outplayed by a guy having, one of the better quarterback performances we've seen for a half of football ever. Ultimately, I don't think that's going to set them back. They have tons of weapons. Their offense is varied, and I think their quarterback play is going to be better. If, it was good last year, and I think it's going to be better. Yeah, I mean, Seattle would be the other choice there, but I think you're. I don't know. It's hard to go against a team that won 13 games. Really.
Sure, fair enough, Chris. And so Seattle going to be your pick?
I'm going to take the other side on that, Seattle. I mean, again, I think this is the best division in football. You can't go wrong with either one of those. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a huge year. They've made some smart upgrades across the team talent-wise. So I think, the Seahawks are rolling this year.
All right, sounds good. Matt, we're going to jump back to you for your 3 wildcard teams, and if you have the first one out as well.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I think I'm going to go Green Bay in the North. I kind of talked about them being good again. I think they'll be right there in the 10-6, and there'll be a split between them and Miami Vikings for who gets the neither one of them is going to get the bye week, so it doesn't really matter, I guess. But which one of them is going to get home field advantage? I'll take Tampa Bay again. I think they're going to be in that 8-8 range, which is probably enough to get you in the playoffs in the 17 format. And then my last pick, to fill out my 3, I think Seattle squeaks in over maybe a team like Dallas, who goes 7-9, loses the last game of the season like they consistently seem to do. I think you could make arguments for teams like the Rams, and maybe, who knows with the Falcons, if there'll be a good Falcons year or a bad Falcons year, because they go up and down like a yo-yo. But at the same point, Seattle's consistent. They're good quarterback play. So,
absolutely, Chris. How about you? How about your 3 and plus 1?
So the Niners are my first wild card team. I think they're right on the heels of the Seahawks all year, and they easily take that first wild card. I'm going to go Tampa. They get the second. I think they are going to be good enough to go 9-7 or 10-6. And then I'm kind of tough on this one. I'm going to go the Packers, I guess. But like Matt said, you can make an argument for the Eagles. You can make an argument for the Rams. You can make an argument for the Falcons. If Chicago gets any competent quarterback play, you can make an argument for them. Like there's the NFC. The NFC is on the whole, I think, is very, very interesting because there's a number of teams that could make some noise there. But yeah, those are the 3 I'm going to go with. I will say the Rams are the first out.
All right, sounds good. Well, we know who the division winners and the wildcard teams are going to be, so let's get to the conference championship predictions. So, Chris, back to you. What is your AFC conference championship matchup?
I'm going to say it's a repeat of last year's with the Chiefs and the Titans. And the Chiefs win. Actually, wait a minute. No, that's impossible because in my mind I have the Titans as the 3. Right. Yes. I'm going to say, the Chiefs and Titans. Yeah, because the Chiefs will take the number 1 seed. And I think the Titans have another good run, but I think the Chiefs repeat and go back to the Super Bowl.
Sounds good, Matt. How about you for AFC?
Yeah, AFC, I will take Chiefs in Baltimore with Baltimore winning. Are we got at that point? Do we say who is winning? I'm going to say they're winning.
Go for it, man.
Yeah, I said the Chiefs.
This is your channel. I mean, you can do whatever you want.
I'm going to say Baltimore wins that game. I think, it's hard to win 2 Super Bowls or get to 2 Super Bowls in a row. And I think Baltimore's a really good football team. And Lamar Jackson's pretty good.
That's a pretty good argument for me. I'm not gonna lie. Um, so let's switch to the NFC side. Matt, you're going to go first. What is your conference
Yeah,
championship game?
I think every time the NFL does one of these things where they're like, we'll add one more wild card team because it won't make a difference. It won't change anything. Everything blows up. So my guess is I took the Seattle Seahawks as my 7th pick. They are going to be in that game. And they're probably going to be playing somebody. I will say, just for argument's sakes, I'll say New Orleans Saints gets their heart broken again in that game, and Seattle ends up getting into the Super Bowl as a 7th seed, just like they did as a 6th seed in the past. I think it'll be real interesting if that does happen because the pundits will go insane about the 7th team that has been added. But I think the NFL is the most parity league there is, and literally when you play one game each week to see who moves on, crazy things can happen.
Absolutely. Chris, how about you for the NFC?
Yeah, I am going to take the same two teams that Matt had, New Orleans and Seattle. Although I'm going to skip going with the pick I've made for 3 years in a row here. I think the Saints get over the hump this year. I know they have these heartbreaking losses, but I think I got to keep picking them until they prove me right. So I'm going to take New Orleans over Seattle in a classic NFC Championship game.
Sounds great. Well, Chris, let's keep it.
Hey, Chris, give your Super Bowl pick. Who's going to win?
I've been picking New Orleans for the last 2 years in Drew Brees as a ride into the sunset season. So there's no reason for me to change now. I'm going to go New Orleans with the upset over Kansas City.
I am literally shocked by this revelation. On my side, like I said, I just love watching the NFL's plans blow up in front of them. So I'm taking the Seahawks to win that game too. Why not? I think Russell Wilson will carry his team through the playoffs on his shoulders with some help for sure, and you'll be crowning another Seahawks champion.
I will say, Matt, of the 3 years in a row that I've picked the Saints to win the Super Bowl, I feel the least confident about this year's pick.
Well, that's a good sign for them, I think.
Awesome. All right. Well, we have our Super Bowl picks. Let's move on to the other major awards. So we'll start with the MVP. So pretty much the best quarterback in the league this year. So Matt, who's going to be your MVP? Is it going to be a quarterback or is it going to be somebody else?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a quarterback because it's always a quarterback. The smart money would be on Patrick Mahomes because he probably would have won it last year without an unbelievably insane, not repeatable year by Lamar Jackson and the fact that he was injured for a couple of games. So the smart money's there, but that's not very fun. So I will give my second option as we'll make it a little more interesting. And God, it's so hard to pick someone else. I mean, you could say Lamar Jackson. That's not a bad pick either. But let's have a little fun with it. And I will pick someone that's not a quarterback. I'm going to take Derrick Henry. I'm going to say he gets like 2,200 yards. And then how do you stop the guy from getting the MVP in the league when that happens? So, yeah, that's my pick.
I like it. Chris, how about you?
Yeah, again, the smart money is on Mahomes, as Matt said. And again, you could go Lamar Jackson, you could go Deshaun Watson. Those would all be very good picks. I kind of hinted at it a little bit before. I'm going to say Russell Wilson.
I think it's a good pick.
He's kind of in the shadows last year, again, because of the amazing year of Jackson and what Mahomes was doing. But he really had a pretty amazing year last year. And I think this is the year that he has an even better year. That's one of the reasons I think the Seahawks are going to outlast the 49ers this year in that division. And I think it's because he has an MVP caliber season. So Russell Wilson's my pick.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, and I would have taken him except for nobody who is the last team on an 8-8 team quarterback is going to get the MVP. And so my other narrative completely destroyed picking Russell Wilson.
I will say we were gonna just let everybody peek behind the curtain a little bit. Our last segment's going to be hot takes, but I think between the New York Jets making the playoffs and Derrick Henry getting 2,200 yards, I think Matt, you can probably sit out this one when we get to that point.
Well,
So yeah, I think you're good.
I'll give some more because I think
Ooh,
I
I like
said
it.
officially I'm taking Patrick Mahomes, but if I had to throw one in there as a fun one, it would be Derrick Henry. I'm definitely taking Patrick Mahomes as my MVP.
All right, fair enough. Sounds good. Let's go to the other side of the ball. Then we'll talk about defensive player of the year. So, Chris, who is your predicted defensive player of the year for 2020 season?
I mean, this is a tough one. There's a lot of really good players. Kind of the smart money is to go. Aaron Donald or one of the Boses, maybe Myles Garrett. A lot to prove coming back at that suspension. But I think I'm going to Khalil Mack's another one. I think I am going to go. Tough one. I'm gonna go Nick Bosa with the Niners. He was a runaway defensive rookie of the year last year, and just really was a kind of a game changer. But it wouldn't be surprised me if it was anyone else on that list.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to take Myles Garrett. And the only reason I'm going to take him is because he seems to be spending an awful lot of his time trying to rebuild his image right now. And why wouldn't he at this point? But I feel like nothing rebuilds your image better than, getting a big contract, which he can check off. And fulfilling that contract is the next step of that, and doing his part of that. And I think he does that this year. He's like maybe the bright shining light on a maybe really hard to watch, but fun and close season by the Browns.
It's funny, Matt. I've picked the Browns as a wild card team this year, and I think if they're going to be a wild card team, it's going to be because Myles Garrett has an amazing year. Because I think there's a lot of high hopes for the Browns offense. There's a lot more questions on the defense. But if he is that kind of player on the defense, and I think he's going to have a Pro Bowl year, no doubt. They're going to need him if they're going to make a playoff run.
All right, sounds good. I like all the picks. All right, let's go ahead and finish up with some storylines before we get to our hot takes as well. With where we are as a society to the 2020, it's actually kind of a minor miracle that the NFL made it this far. The fact that we're actually having these games, at least we're less than 24 hours out before the Houston Kansas City games start, that we're actually going to be having football start as scheduled. We'll see obviously if they make it to the end of the schedule as currently constructed, but man, still a ton of storylines as we have every single NFL season. But I think the big one has to be the transition of Tom Brady from the New England Patriots after almost 20 years to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and just how both of those teams are going to be doing this year. Obviously New England for the first post-Brady year, and then Tampa Bay having all of these expectations now with Tom Brady there. Matt, what do you have to say about that particular storyline?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the A1 story this year, whether or not you're taking it from the Patriots side of what do they do without Tom Brady, and the weird, they had more big name players do the COVID rest period with a free year off or whatever you want to call it than anybody else. The big names, Patrick Chung, big names, I don't even recognize half of their team at this point. It's really weird. They really constructed it on paper, strangely, but it's, again, the best coach in NFL history. If anybody can do some weird stuff and make it work, it's him. And then you take a look at Tampa Bay and you think, man, was quarterback play really what held them back last year? Was that the only thing? Is Tom Brady the solution to their quarterback woe? That's a pretty solid quarterback season that they're moving on from to a guy who didn't have a great season last year. Yes, of course, one's the GOAT and one is a backup in New Orleans. But at the same point, I don't know if that was their main problem. And was a Gronk the answer either? It's such a weird thing, but I get why there's so much hype about it. But it just seems like all of it's too fanciful. It's not like I feel like the New England's going to walk out and be great because of some coaching play, or that Tampa Bay is going to be this world-beating team because they added Tom Brady and a couple of other pieces. To me, it's just kind of a weird thing that happened because of contract agreements, and it is what it is. But it'll be fun to watch. I'm interested to see how it shakes out, and I wouldn't, like I said before, be shocked if it does work out for Tampa Bay. I'd be a little more shocked if it works out for New England. But honestly, it could work out, maybe, but I wouldn't be. I don't know. I'm not writing any checks or making any bets on it.
Fair enough, Chris. What do you have to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, the hot take for this would be, the Tampa Bay is going to go to the Super Bowl and the Patriots are going to have the first pick in the draft. The truth is, neither of those things are going to happen, right? They're both going to be in the mix. I have Tampa getting in with a wild card and New England being the first one out in the AFC. I actually, in my initial playoff assessment, I did peg the Patriots for one of the wild cards. So it was actually less about Brady opting out or leaving, but more just the COVID opt-outs. They were hit with more opt-outs by starting players than pretty much any team in the league. And just questions about what does Cam Newton have left in the tank, and a team that was already lacking in offensive weapons. I think they missed the playoffs, but I think they go, I think they lose a tiebreaker to Cleveland. So it has them going like 8-8. I don't think it's going to be, top picking in the top of the draft. And Tampa, same thing. I have them in as a wild card. They go 9-7, maybe 10-6. But I think they have a first or second round exit in the playoffs.
Sounds good. I want to get your guys' opinion on this. I know we didn't talk about this before, but this as being a transition year for the NFL quarterback class that we have, because we talk about what Tom Brady's obviously into his early 40s. Drew Brees is going to be there if he isn't already. We have Roethlisberger, we have Rivers, we have a lot of guys who have really dominated this league for the last 10, 15, 20 years. And then now all of a sudden you're getting, the Kyler Murrays, the Bakers of the world, Lamar Jacksons, and we haven't even talked about Joe Burrow coming in this year. And then you got Fields and you got Lawrence coming in next year. Do you guys also feel that this has kind of been like, this year, maybe into next year, going to be like a real big transition year for NFL quarterbacks?
I think it started last year, actually. In our quarterback ranking, we talked about like last year was finally the year you had a lot of the old quarterbacks really started to look their age. You had guys like Brady and Brees and Roethlisberger and Rivers who, through 2018 were still playing at a really, really high level. And then last year, through injuries and just some like declining play, they started to show their age. And you saw in our rankings this year, we still had Brees at 5, but pretty much all those other older QBs. Well, and we had Rodgers at 3. But we had Rivers was way down in the rankings. Roethlisberger was way down. Brady was way down from where he was before. So yeah, I think it started last year. I think it's going to continue. I still think, obviously, I think Drew Brees is going to have a good year. And as I'm predicting that they win the Super Bowl and he retires after that. So that would be the end, end of his career. I still think Aaron Rodgers has a bit left in the tank. So he'll be around a while. But yeah, we're moving into the next wave of quarterbacks, and you're seeing it between Mahomes and Lamar and Deshaun Watson, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Josh Allen. And then guys like Russell Wilson, who's like in the prime of his career, still playing at a high level, a little bit older than those guys, but still playing at a high level. Matt Ryan still playing at a relatively high level, but on the whole, yes, I think we're moving into a new age of young stud quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think if we're going to talk about quarterback play, I think we have to start talking about how bad or how unsure the middle of the pack of quarterbacks in the NFL is right now. I used to feel like you were pretty safe to say 20 to 25 guys 2 years later, or 20 to 25 teams 2 years later would have probably the same starting quarterback. I don't feel that way right now. I feel like if you go past the top 10 or 12 guys, there's question marks everywhere, including some of those guys in the top 10 are guys that are going to be out of the league 2 or 3 years from now. So it really, there is going to be a huge turnover. I mean, if you go down the list, I mean, just take a look at, the AFC East. There's 2 teams there. You're not sure what they're going to do about quarterback. NFC North, there's 3 teams that don't know what they're going to do about quarterback. And you go on and on and on. It's not like you can say, yeah, I guarantee that these 3 teams or 4 teams are going to have every quarterback who's starting for them is going to be here in 3 years or 2 years. And I think a lot of it is some olderness, old players, but a lot of it is just quarterback play is kind of either you've got a great one or you've got huge question marks, and teams are moving on faster from those guys than ever before. And you're going to see those players move around and try to, maybe you get lucky and you're in the Titans and you pick up somebody else's leftovers in Tannehill and get a good season or 2 out of them. But I think there's going to be a ton of that happening just because there's not 10 guys coming out in the draft next year that are going to be starters in the NFL. There's not that many players out there. And so it's, maybe we get into a situation just because of quarterback play where it's the haves and the have-nots in the NFL, and either teams have to start finding other ways to win, or we're going to see dynasties happen where it's, the Ravens and the, Kansas City Chiefs win Super Bowls for, back and forth for years because they have the best quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. But it'll, Trevor Lawrence is I think a solid guarantee. I think Fields could be really good in the NFL. So there's a lot of young guys, but not enough.
Yeah, and I would say kind of too, something with that is the contracts play into a role. Like you've seen the gargantuan deal Patrick Mahomes signed, and the still very, very large deal that Deshaun Watson just signed. Dak Prescott, who knows what he's going to get. It's kind of he's kind of a fascinating case for this, right? Because I think we're kind of in a situation where teams like the top high end quarterbacks are going to always get the massive deals. But I think beyond that, teams are more, are less hesitant to fork out those mega deals when they can maybe try to find a guy coming off a rebound, or taking a young quarterback and having that QB on a rookie deal, which is such a salary cap advantage. I mean, you look at the Bears. Mitch Trubisky 2 years ago had a really good year. Last year, not so much. They declined his 5th-year option for a number 3 overall pick. In years past, teams may, the Bears may have picked that up. But, teams are really, really wary of how the contract fits in, because if you have a good quarterback, you're going to have to pay them. And there's nothing that kills a salary cap situation more than paying a good player like they're a great one. So I think that's going to factor in as well as how teams look at the quarterback position.
Nobody wants to sign that Dalton contract.
No.
No, I totally agree on that. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get to hot takes?
No, not really. I mean, we didn't talk about rookies very much, but I mean, I think Burrow is going to be the hands down, most likely to be rookie of the year. And I think there's going to be some great wide receiver play because there's so many good young wide receivers. But, I don't think there's going to be a running back that has a blowout amazing season this year. I think Joe Burrow is going to play the most snaps quarterback, assuming he doesn't get hurt, and he's going to win the MVP just like Kyler Murray did, or the rookie of the year.
Yeah, I think Burrow's the even money for that, just because he's going to start from day one, and I think the Cincinnati could be like a fun to watch bad team, especially if AJ Green is healthy and they have some other pieces. I mean, they can't stop anyone on defense, and their offensive line is terrible. So Burrow's going to be running for his life a lot. So if he can stay healthy through the whole year, I think he's kind of the shoe-in choice. I mean, some people are predicting he's going to break all these rookie records. I don't know about that. I don't know if he breaks Baker Mayfield's touchdown passing record or Andrew Luck's yardage record. But I think he has a year easily good enough to win the Rookie of the Year. Kind of maybe a sleeper, and it depends because he's in kind of a running back by committee there. But J.K. Dobbins in Baltimore, with Ingram and some other folks there. But we're Ohio State fans, as you can see by Matt's chair there in the background. We've watched Dobbins for the last 3 years. He was one of the most underrated college players, and maybe the most underrated Buckeye maybe in the last 30 years. He just put up amazing numbers in college and just didn't get any kind of recognition for it. And I think it could kind of be the same way, especially playing in that offense. So if he ends up getting the carries, he could potentially be a sleeper in that Rookie of the Year consideration.
We have this interesting confluence of a historic rookie class, and then none of them really getting a chance to have any kind of preseason or training camp.
Right.
Like, we don't know what the kind of impact they're going to have. I mean, heck, we don't know what kind of soft tissue issues that veterans are going to be running into because they're so used to having, mini camps and everything just being completely wiped out because of the virus. And, this could be, I think us expecting this is going to be like a year like every other year. We see ups and downs and the same kind of stuff. I mean, this could really be blowing everybody out of the water. I mean, who knows what we'll be seeing, heck, by the end of week 1, let alone 2, 3, 4 weeks from now.
Yeah, what if they get a bunch of false positives the day before the game? What do you do? And that could happen. I mean, it just happened to like 3 or 4 teams all at the same time. It's going to be wild. That's the biggest takeaway, I think, the biggest storyline. But it should be how much of this season and what's it going to look like, and how many players don't end up playing because of COVID tests positives or that are real or fake, or we don't want a St. Louis Cardinals situation happening, because that's, God, can you imagine the amount of people they just get in contact with? There's so many people in an NFL football locker room. It's just wild. And so far, they seem to be doing a really good job with it. But, once that, cat's out of the bag, if it gets out of the bag, they'll be in some real trouble.
All right, let's go to hot takes. Matt, if you have any more additional hot takes, let's go ahead and say them here.
All right. I will say that my first hot take, and then I'll let Chris take one, will be that the Jacksonville Jaguars will try their hardest to get the first pick in the draft, and they will fail to do so. They will win more games. Just like we thought Miami was going to be the worst team ever. I think this goes back to that same idea. They're going to win a couple of games they're not supposed to, because people are going to write them off. And, players are prideful bunch. You're not going to ask football players to lay down and not try to win bonuses on their contracts, and B, you're putting yourself through a lot of physical damage to play football, and you want to win. You don't play this game if you're not a competitor. And so I think it blows up in their face. The tank situation rarely works in the NFL, and I don't think it'll work for them this year.
Well, then who is going to have the worst record?
Oh, God. There's so many choices. There's so many bad teams in the NFL. But let me throw one out there that maybe you're not thinking of. I think the Carolina Panthers are going to be real bad. I just think, Christian McCaffrey probably going to, break tons of records. But, God, I just don't think they're any good. I don't think there's anything that's going to make that team move on from Cam Newton and be like, oh, yeah, that was a really smart decision. Getting rid of Cam Newton was real smart. I just think they're going to be real bad. As another option, I think the Chargers could be real bad, especially because they have no idea what they're doing at quarterback. But they have so much good talent on that team. But once you start losing with good talent that's getting paid a ton, those storylines start to churn. And I could see them losing more games than anybody else too. But, I'll put those ones out there because they seem hot takeier than picking somebody like I took the Jets to win a bunch, so I can't take them. But like the Dolphins. So.
Sounds good. Chris, you're on the clock. Go for it.
So actually, I'm going to kind of stick with that. I do think Jacksonville is going to have the number one pick. I think. I think that they are tanking, and Matt is right. It's questionable whether tanking actually works. I just think that they may win more games than they might be expecting, but I don't know another team is going to win fewer than them, just because that really is a bad roster that they have. But I'll throw a couple other teams in that mix, and they're both in the same division. One is the Vegas Raiders. They were a team that's on the fringe of the playoffs a year ago, but I think they were kind of fake good. They were 2 years ago. They were the team that was supposedly tearing and taking it down with Gruden getting the draft picks. But I don't know who they've really added. That Josh Jacobs is a nice young running back, but I don't know if they have anyone who really scares you. I don't think they're going to have the number one pick, but they're a team that if they have a couple injuries, they could fall down that road. And another one actually would be Denver. They've already lost Von Miller for a period of time. I don't believe in Drew Lock. I think if they have, again, a couple injuries, they could be one of those teams that really ends up falling. But I think Jacksonville is far and away the worst team in the league, and they will be selecting Trevor Lawrence in April. I'm going to throw one more hot take in because I kind of backed off of Matt's hot take. I think, and this is actually not just an on-the-field thing, but I think we have seen the last of the 4-game preseason. I think we're going to see. There was lots of questions about the preseason before, and I think with not having any preseasons this year, I think you're going to. I don't think you're going to have necessarily a terrible quality of play the first couple weeks. There might be some soft tissue injuries that you said, Drew, but I think next year we see 2 preseason games be kind of the official, the new normal moving forward. I think you're going to see it this year, and people are going to be like, oh yeah, preseason doesn't really matter all that much. I think that's we've seen in preseason games. We've seen like stars. Players who have starred in the preseason in like all 4 games, and then they get cut.
Yeah, I think Chris is right. Obviously they were discussing the 17-game season already and moving back to 3 games. But yeah, I think, just like COVID has done in other realms, like people are working from home now more often just because it worked out for 4 months. Why did we stop people from doing this the whole time? Why did we feel like we needed 4 preseason games? I think if the season goes on without a hitch and we don't see tons of like soft tissue damage injuries, you'll go down to 2 without even adding that 17th game. I think that's right. The only thing is the lost revenue, forcing your season ticket holders to buy tickets to those preseason games. But they can make that up again with 1 extra regular season game, and I think the players would probably agree to that. Dropping 2 games and adding 1 real game. I think they would probably agree to that situation. So back to my hot takes. I will take. I will say that Tua starts playing real soon down in Miami. I know he's coming off of an injury. Things aren't looking great, but God, I just don't feel like that. What's the downside to playing him at this point? I think the gun-shy quarterback thing where you have to put 2 years under their belt to play in the NFL it's not the thing anymore. You can succeed as a rookie, and I think you'll see him and you'll see what's his name in San Diego real quick. Herbert, yeah, Herbert real quick, and I think across the board, teams are going to be moving on from quarterback play faster and faster and faster because they just need that information on these quarterbacks.
You guys believe we're 24 hours away? This is crazy. I'm pumped at this point.
Yeah.
Great starting game too.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yes. Good. Hopefully we'll start with everybody stay safe, stay healthy, and everybody just 2020 NFL season is here. So let's get it started. All right. For our analysts, Chris and Matt, follow us on YouTube. Please subscribe. And also, if you want to follow us as well on Twitter, we are at Harkleroad-Adams Sports. So for Chris, for Matt, I'm Drew. We'll see you again soon. Thanks again.
Take care.